This episode of the Nerf Herder Council is brought to you by Audible. Visit audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download.
Hi, this is Joseph Williams, son of John Williams, and you are watching the Nerf Herder Council.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking Nerf herder!
You can't use that word! Only we can use that word!
You're tuned in to the Nerf Herder Council, your source for Star Wars opinion, conversation, and debate. Featuring your hosts, JT.
Stormtrooper armor deflects everything except Orback hooves. They're like a horse version of Thomas the Tank Engine.
AJ.
Yeah, Rebels is a lot like our show, where we think we have a good idea and then it just fails in execution.
On this episode of the Nerf Herder Council, we finally get our first full-length trailer for the Ahsoka series, and as usual, we've got some pretty strong opinions about it, some of which you may not like.
This is the Nerf Herder Council.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your host, JT. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. We are live at those locations every other Wednesday at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to click that like button and click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you are notified every time we go live. We are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. And of course, you can always get your own customizable Nerf Herder Council swag at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. Without further ado, let me bring on my esteemed co-host, AJ. How is it going, man? Good to see you.
Good, man. How you doing tonight?
I am doing great. Internet watch is still in effect, so if my video goes wonky, my audio will be fine, so just deal with it. So, you know, it is what it is. But, yeah, doing good, man. Ready to talk some Ahsoka. It is definitely kind of a hot button issue for you and I would say. This is going to be a weird one.
This topic kind of decided itself, didn't it? We try not to talk. That's the problem about having a show, right? Is we try to save our best bits for on the air so we don't, repeat the same conversation. But this one, we're like, okay, we got to talk about it. Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it? No. Okay, that's our next show. Got it.
I'm not usually a fan of let's react to something that's 2 minutes long, but you and I are very, very vocal about the fact that we are not Rebels fans. So this show is going to be very interesting for you and I. I mean, already, there's something in the trailer that just absolutely got my blood boiling, and I'm going to try not to rant. I mean, it has to be discussed, but I think it's obvious what that's going to be. I was hoping that it wasn't going to come to pass, and sadly, my wish was not their command.
It's almost like they didn't consult you at all before making this.
I know. What a bunch of dicks, man.
Right?
What the hell is that about?
They've got your number. They've got our email address. They've rejected us from Celebrations. So I know Lucasfilm knows who we are.
I know. What? They're so fucking rude, man. Just the lack of manners on so many levels. You know what? Screw those writers. I side with the studios. Screw you, writers.
Oh, man.
There. Yeah. Screw you, writers.
You're not going to put a pin in that one, okay?
Right. This is our hot take.
Right.
So
we've been canceled on Twitter. Thanks, man.
Exactly.
Time to go to Threads.
Oh, man. Kale McLeish says, final live stream to catch before I turn 25. Let's go. Kale, good to see you as always, man, and happy early birthday. So hopefully it's going to be a good one. Kale also says, I haven't seen the trailer, but I think I know what's in there. Well, we are going to pull this up on the screen as we talk about it. We're not going to play the audio. We don't want to get dinged for a copyright strike, which how that can happen.
We might get taken down YouTube, anyway. Who knows?
Right.
I mean, remember we tried to play clips during the Incredible Hulk episode, and that didn't work out so hot. So
yeah, right.
Like we're playing YouTube videos on YouTube. What's the problem?
Look at this, our buddy Jeff Caffrey, man. Hey, what's up, Jeff? He says, "What's up, fellers? Good to see you, man." I think he's doing some reconnaissance. Like, okay, what are we potentially getting ourselves into on the VCN?
Right.
Well, yank behind the curtain there. So, but all right. So let's just jump into this. You've got this on pause here, and so we'll play this and kind of Jeff with the inspector emoji. Nice. All right, so yeah, so we've got the Ahsoka trailer up. We're not going to play the audio. So, but I mean, what do you need audio for?
Yeah, it's a wild experiment. But okay, so like Kale McLeish was saying, he's not seen the trailer yet. For anybody who doesn't know what the show itself is, because it's pretty much the thing that they're hyping this year for Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's a standard 10-episode season, just like Mandalorian. They're going to be doing a 2-episode premiere on August 23rd, and that means it'll wrap up on October 4th. So we've got just, what is that, like a month and a half of stuff to watch, basically.
So this is going to wrap up right on my 9th wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
So if the show sucks, I get a turd for a present from Lucasfilm.
Well, you're going to have a pissed off wife anyway because you'll be watching Ahsoka instead of paying attention to her. So,
well, you know what though? No, in her defense, she watches all the new Star Wars stuff. She loves the shows, so that's not too bad. And
does she know anything about Ahsoka?
No,
the character. I mean,
no, she does not.
This could be fun then. We're going to get a chance to get somebody's opinion who has no prior experience with the character.
That would be very interesting. Again, you and I are biased because, we're gonna try and rewatch Rebels and kind of give our thoughts, having gone through it a second time before the show comes out. But man, full disclosure for those of you guys who are not regular viewers of the show, AJ and I are, everybody we've seen is just all about Rebels being this great thing, and I'm like, okay, where? Like every other episode was filler crap. And I just, we've talked about that on the show, and I'm just like, what is the point of this? And it has my 2 least favorite ideas in all of Star Wars, one of which shows up in this effing trailer. So, and
maybe both. We don't know.
Dude, I literally, so full disclosure, the first time I watched the trailer was on my phone. So it was like, screen yay big. So when I got home, I put it on the television, big 75-inch, I watch it. I saw it immediately. Exactly what I didn't want to see. I was just like, son of a bitch. There we go. For all the world to see.
Oh boy. Yeah. Okay. So if this becomes annoying, just let us know in the chat. I'm just going to let this thing run on loop as we talk about this.
Hopefully.
So
loop.
Yeah, I figured it out. You get this thing called Google that has all the answers. So
that's why you're the tech guy.
Right. I Googled how to loop something on YouTube, and it gave me the answer. It was incredible. No, phone. I'm not talking to you right now. Thank you.
Nice. All right. Well, here we go.
So, yeah, we got a couple of interesting things to talk about throughout this entire deal. That is clearly a callback to the Rogue One hallway scene with Vader, right?
It kind of looks like it a little bit. At this part right here, where he stabs, like he runs the guy through with the lightsaber. We are no Jedi. Like that's cool. Dude. And it's kind of sad too, because that guy, I forget the actor's name, Ray something, I think, but he passed away recently. So if this thing blows up, he doesn't even get to reap the rewards of like being a recurring character and going to Celebration and all that stuff. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, and then they've got another Carrie Fisher situation too, where if this gets a second season, I don't know if it's intended to or not. Then what? Like, unless his character dies this season, then they've got a plot hole to patch.
Yeah. So
I was trying to figure out some tasteful way to say that. It's so dark. You're like, yeah, a human being died, but what about his character?
Yeah.
We've got real problems.
So let's talk real quick when this pops up with this astromech right here about what our cousin sent us, where when that astromech, I don't know if we missed it or what, but I don't.
No, it's not in there yet.
Okay, yeah. So when the astromech comes on, it's actually a callback to the original right here. So that's the original R2, the original Kenner R2, because it's got like the triangles and stuff, which is really cool. So our cousin found that for us somewhere. So thanks goes out to our cousin Chris, who tunes in sometimes. So, so Kale wants to know with my wife. So when Ahsoka pops up in Mando, she's just the Headhorns Jedi woman. Yeah, I explained who she was, so at least she's aware of who Ahsoka is, but doesn't know that behind the scenes or anything like that. So yeah, that is actually this astromech is a callback to the very first Kenner R2 unit, which for some reason didn't look like R2 at all. So AJ's going to bring up a picture of this here, I believe. Is that what you're doing?
That is what I'm doing.
All right. So here's the original Kenner, and you could see those two little triangle things to the right of his the hell's that the eye part called or whatever?
Oh, sensor bubble.
It's us. Fuck
eyeball.
It's the eye part. It's the eye part.
Yeah.
It's us. We are highly uneducated.
We are very technically proficient, obviously.
Yeah. So, all right. So pull the trailer back up. We'll keep going. But yeah, so that's a really cool callback that our cousin sent us an article about. So that's pretty interesting.
So yeah, there's the obvious homage. Now it's a future. This is like a sequel trilogy era astromech.
Yep.
So what's old is truly new.
Well played. All right. So we got Sabine flying around. Then she gets her haircut, whatever, here in a minute. Yeah, so we'll get to this later, but there's your Ezra shot, so Ezra's going to be in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about this mural, because I get that's exactly how it looked in Rebels, but I don't know how I feel about a cartoon coming in, and I don't know. That just seems weird to me. It looks the same, and I can't think of a better way for them to do it than to use the exact one from the cartoon. But so it just feels weird. But then again,
it's a weird disconnect.
Yeah, but I think it would be worse if they tried to make it more realistic. You know what I mean? So I think that's the way to handle it. I would say.
Well, this is the problem: is you've got animated, and a cartoony mural works in an animated show, and now we've got live action, but still with a cartoony mural.
Yeah.
So they're kind of blending. Like on one hand, they're like, it's not quite the same. Like we've recast the actors and the voices, for example, but here's the exact imagery from the cartoon at the same time. So are we meant to believe this is all part and parcel, like one and the same, or is it supposed to be like, well, that was a cartoon, that was an interpretation, and here's our live action interpretation? Like the weird bleed over between the two is kind of disconcerting.
Yeah, I tried to think, okay, what if they tried to update it and make it look similar but more like a live action type of look? How that, and that would just look a little too wonky, I think.
Yeah,
almost like a trying too hard moment. So I'm kind of glad they kept it this way. So all right. So
yeah,
so
I mean,
they're,
cartoons still exist in real life. So
yeah,
she could just draw cartoony stuff. That could be her style.
That's that's the perfect explanation. She drew it. It looks cartoony, so we'll just chalk it up to that. So
yeah.
All right. So we've got the mural, and there's the
Oh, sorry. Let's just go back a little bit.
You know what, man?
There you go. There's your friend.
Oh my God! Why?
I'm gonna do this.
Friggin' Purgles, man! Why? Why? Oh my God, those things suck. Oh, I hate them so much. Oh, it's the dumbest idea in Star Wars. An animal doesn't go through hyperspace. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. We've been told you have to type in coordinates and all this crap, but somehow a whale can get through space just fine? I mean, what is there, like big like clouds of whale, like entrails and chunks and crap like a deer on the highway because they got smeared by a Star Destroyer?
Oh my God. I hadn't thought of that. Oh my God. Okay, so in the first book of the High Republic, this big disaster that the villains, the Nihil, very clever, by the way, nihilists, and they call them the Nihil. Right. The big disaster that happens is they manage to basically intercept a ship in hyperspace and blow it up. And as a result, all the chunks of this ship start like falling out of hyperspace and raining down on planets and stuff.
Yeah.
So if a Purgle takes a shit in hyperspace, you know where I'm going with this.
Yes, we did. We did posit that theory on a prior episode. But yeah, not to
hyperspace whale shit.
Yeah, it's just, look, that's just horrible. Oh my God. You know what, Aiken? Piss off. I'm not putting that up on the screen, you jerk. No, there will be no references to Han Solo's death on this show because he's alive.
Yeah.
Kale McLeish says that's either not an animal or quote unquote they hyperspace now. Yeah. They fly now? They fly now.
Yeah.
They hyperspace now? They hyperspace
now. Ugh. Yeah, Aiken, you got to know a comment like that is never going to get put on the screen by John. Now, me, on the other hand,
what is this? What is this? A lightsaber? SABRE. What is it? A mid 80s Buick vehicle?
Yes. This is a Buick sedan that's had the back seat taken out.
Yeah. So Han got hit by a car. Apparently, he got hit by a car. Who knew? Oh my gosh! Wow. Okay. So back to these effing space whales. Let's keep going in this trailer here. So there's our Purgles, which are the bane of my existence. There's the back end of a Purgle. Okay. Thrawn. We
should pause on this. We should pause on this. Hold on a second.
Okay.
So we get our first look at Thrawn.
Yes. Okay.
Yay or nay?
Jeff Caffrey. Saber, the parent company of Dunder Mifflin. Nice. Chris Aiken, same era, bad writing and bad vehicle.
Ooh.
Comments are on fire tonight. So yeah, I don't have a problem with Thrawn like this. I think I've always pictured him with a more defined face, almost like Tarkin, almost like Tarkin-esque. And I don't know how, we have no frame of reference in this, but this actor looks a little more slight, and I always pictured him like taller and more muscular, more broad shoulder, kind of a little bit more imposing, I think. That being said, I think this is fine. I think it's awesome. I mean, I think we knew we were going to get Thrawn in this. We knew we were going to get Purgles. We knew Ezra's going to come in somewhere. We haven't gotten our obligatory Zeb cameo, but we already got him in Mando, so he's probably going to show up in here. So, Thrawn, cool. Well, what do you think?
So I'm with you. I don't think that the face quite works, but they did have a limitation, and this is that weird blurring of lines again. This is the voice actor from Rebels. This is Lars Mikkelsen.
Mm-hmm.
So we get the same Thrawn voice. Awesome. Which itself is kind of an odd callback. I don't know. Did you ever listen to the audiobooks of the Heir to the Empire series from back in the 90s?
Ooh. I know I read
Mark Thompson did them, our favorite guy.
I don't remember if I actually read the book. No, I would have had to listen to the audiobooks. Yeah, I did.
Okay, so the voice of Thrawn in there, which was basically invented by Mark Thompson for the audiobooks, you notice they basically aped that for the cartoon voice?
I thought that was fine.
Yeah, no, I liked it just fine. So I think it's interesting that they we're complaining about the image of a guy that came from a book because the voice actor that they used sounded like the original audiobook narrator. It's just a weird like trail back. It's almost like the Kenner R2D2,
Yeah. No, I think it's cool. Kale says, they could have done a little better. I feel like the pigments so slightly off. I think he mistyped there, but it's like 90% there, he says. So, okay.
So for reference, this is kind of like what he was pictured as when it was still just a book in the 90s. Like this is the way he was kind of depicted on the covers and whatnot.
Yeah, they kind of made him look a little more angular in the cartoon as well.
Yeah,
Rebels, I thought. So that I think that's why I was kind of looking for it to be more of the same. But it's more of like a normal guy, I suppose, is the way to phrase it.
Oh, this is nowhere near big enough. But
look at the little pee-pee picture.
Yeah, sorry.
Everybody
check the size before I share things.
Yeah.
But if you squint really hard, you see what we're talking about.
Right. So Jeff Caffrey says, similar to Cad Bane's look in Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, I see that one, Jeff, like I was okay with that one because first of all, I thought it was really cool. And second of all, his face is so slender that there's not really a good way to do that 100% perfectly unless you're going to do a fully CGI character, which obviously
funny?
They're trying to get away from. So,
I realized though, I had an issue with Cad Bane too. I thought he looked a little wonky and I'm like, oh, it's that whole cartoon to live action thing. Mm-hmm. Nah, man, the first time we saw Duros, which is his species, was in the cantina in A New Hope.
Yeah.
So they just, if you're bitching about the way Cad Bane looked, blame 1977.
Jeff says the color was off a bit. Okay.
I do think they need a very other color palette, though. This is now 2 alien species that just look humanoid, except for blue skin and red eyes.
Yeah. Why don't we start there after we finish out this trailer? Because you and I both had a similar thought on that. So let's finish out the trailer and then let's do that first. Because we both had something to say about several characters in this that we wanted to hit. So
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I want to know like who this like blonde woman with the short hair is.
I've got a list of character names we could talk about because okay. I don't remember. I know them now because Lego has released details on some sets that they're going to include.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where most of my information comes from.
Okay, so
yeah, a lot of this looks pretty cool. It looks pretty standard fare for like Mandoverse kind of stuff. There's still Inquisitors floating around. That's interesting.
Yeah, the spinning lightsaber, the helicopter lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, overall,
it's going to loop. Yeah, I did it right. Okay. Anyway.
Aiken has a comment for you in the, we don't have to, it's a very tech comment, but, yeah. So anyway, yeah. So cool trailer, a lot of stuff that we want to see, a lot of cool action that, I mean, it's going to, again, I think we've mentioned this before. That so far they haven't done us wrong. It's the shows have all been great, at least for me. I mean, people can say what they want about Book of Boba Fett. I loved it. I thought it was great. So, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, as we said at the outset of the show, we're a little worried about this because of the fact that it is live action Rebels and we're not fans of that show. But, I will give them the benefit of the doubt. And maybe this will help us, get more into Rebels potentially. But a few things that we noticed, and I think you and I had two major, I don't know if it's complaints or anything, but we talked about this a little bit. Like, Hera and Ahsoka and Thrawn, some of the costume design is getting to be a little bit too close to what looks more like cosplay. And
yeah,
I don't know why that is. It's not a major complaint. Like I say, it's just, like Hera just kind of looks like somebody put blue contacts in and did the green paint thing. Like, I just wonder if there's a way to like kind of like digitally add to the live action character to make it a little less, I used the perfect word earlier, humanoid.
Yeah, it's weird. Like it used to be like animation was a stylized interpretation. So like when live action characters show up in animation and their looks are a little bit different, you're like, okay, it's stylized. I get it. Now it's kind of going the other way where you take an animated character and rather than dialing it back to quote realistic standards, it's like just a 1-for-1 recreation. And I think that's all I can think of. Cause like, I don't have a problem with the way any new character looks in this. And I think it's because I have no frame of reference. But when I see Hera show up, I'm like, she looks just like the cartoon, which in my mind says she's a cartoon instead of this is a real person that was once pictured in animated form.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka's always kind of been like that for me too. You know, like Rosario Dawson has the facial features that looks like the cartoon style pretty well, especially Clone Wars style. Rebels changed their art style a little bit, but then the voice comes in and you're like, but that's not Ashley Eckstein.
Yeah. And you mentioned it earlier, you know, that they're with Thrawn, they got the voice actor to play the character in this show, which kind of pisses me off. And, you know, maybe this is just the Homer in me speaking, but then why couldn't they do that with Ashley Eckstein? I wonder if maybe she's one of those people that's more believable as a voice actress than as a, you know, live actress type of thing. Maybe that was maybe they tried it and it wasn't hitting right for them. I don't know. But you know, if they could do it with Lars Mikkelsen, why couldn't they do it with Ashley Eckstein? You know, I
think one of my other issues with Rosario Dawson being cast is that it was a fan casting. I hate fan casting because I don't like this idea that we are the ones steering the storytelling. Like, oh, they want to see it, so we'll make that. Like, no. You're the storyteller. It's up to us whether or not we like the story.
I can understand why you would feel that way, but I think, well, they're still kind of in like damage control mode. I think
it's coming up to be football season though, right? And this whole thing where everybody wants an armchair quarterback and armchair GM. Like, if we were worth a crap at that stuff, we'd be doing that as a job. Like, the worst thing you can do is start listening to the fans too much.
That's an excellent analogy. I just think that, you know, again, they might be in damage control mode after the sequel trilogy still. And so there goes the video. Awesome. But yeah, I think they might still be a little gun shy about fan backlash. And so what they're doing is they're kind of going with properties they know the fans will respond positively to, as opposed to taking chances and whatnot. And I mean, if you notice, you know, they've gotten several shows under their belt before they go into stuff like The Acolyte and, you know, the shows that we don't know anything about. So it's almost like they're building up fan cred before taking chances, I think.
I will say this is where I like the announcement where they said that they are doing quote Mandoverse movie with Dave Filoni, right?
Yeah.
So even before this has come out or Skeleton Crew has come out, they already are saying we're making a movie from this stuff anyway. So these TV shows are happening whether you like them or not.
Yeah.
I don't know how they could possibly course correct at this point and be like, nah, we're going to put out the movie, but not the TV shows, or vice versa. I mean, it's all of a piece now. Everybody knows that there's a plan. And if they deviate from the plan, then it's obvious that they're chasing a paycheck.
Yeah. No, I agree. Bigger question for me with that Filoni verse or whatever, the Mandoverse movie is how this thing is getting so big. How are they going to make just one movie? It's kind of,
hopefully they don't.
It's just too popular. It's kind of like when they said they're bringing Rey back to do a movie with Rey. It's like, well, okay, you absolutely cannot just do one movie. I mean, that's got to be episode 10, 11, and 12. It has to be, you know.
I wonder how connected this stuff is though, too, because it looks like a lot of the stuff in this trailer, it kind of taps back into ancient things. And how maybe they are kind of what's the word? Hinting at, I forgot the word, but anyway, maybe they're hinting at certain things that are going to be in that Dawn of the Jedi movie. They're going back to that era of they're at least referencing that time frame a little bit in this. It looks like they're, what is that ancient temple looking thing? It's got all like the swirly deals going around, and it looks almost like that thing that Grogu was in a trance on.
It does. It does.
And I don't think that's unintentional. I think that's absolutely on purpose. So it'd be cool if like we're seeing some stuff now that's going to be referenced back, at the dawn of the Jedi in that movie. So it is all connected.
Well, couple comments and then a question here. So Jeff Caffrey says they're throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And he corrected his word to stuff. You can swear on our show, Jeff. We do that here. It's not, we're low class. So
yeah.
I mean, I firmly believe that. That's they're kind of seeing what the hell happens. Kale says it can't be episode 10 to 12, the Rey movies I mentioned, because she's not a real Skywalker. Oh boy, here we go.
You're just trying to derail us, aren't you, Kale?
It won't work.
Ray might as well come riding in on a Purgle or something,
To paraphrase Anakin, only my internet can do that.
Speaking of, okay, so we were going to talk about the characters a little bit.
Well, no, wait, we have a question. As long as we're on this topic, so hold that thought. We do have one question, because this kind of Aiken's asking basically what I was kind of hinting at. He says, how much do you think these decisions are in part due to Disney and Disney Plus hemorrhaging money? That's exactly what I was talking about, Chris. I really believe that's what it is, because Ahsoka is such a fan favorite. All these things that they're doing are such fan favorite characters that people are going to spend money on this, and it's going to make them back some of that money that they've been losing. So they basically kind of have to do that.
This has been a question with streaming services for me since they began. Like Netflix, their only business was distributing content. They didn't make anything at the beginning. They just had other people's stuff. As soon as like Disney and Paramount and CBS and HBO and all these other streamers got in on the game, I'm like, okay, so you make like $10, $15 a month off of 4 to 5 people, let's say, with login sharing and family plans and all that sort of stuff. How does that justify the cost of all of the shows that you're making to put on the platform? Like a movie costs $250 million, but it makes like $500 million or more, hopefully, right? A season of television here, Andor did cost $250 million for that first season. Do you think they got $250 million in new subscribers by putting out that show?
Obviously they didn't. But I think they've also figured out a way to cut costs, because, oh my God, this, fuck you, Wi-Fi, something. This is just driving me crazy. Anyway,
like they would need 25 just to break even on the production cost. Forget the marketing and everything else. They would need 25,000 new subscribers because of Andor to make that thing make sense.
Well, but think about it. Andor was, I think, an outlier because they were doing the live action set thing. So it wasn't a case of, all the other shows, they're using the volume. So they're in the same studio, they're using the same setup and everything that, it's one set thing. It's like, it goes back to, like episode 4 and the early stuff where they would reuse the same set multiple times. They would just redress it. So all these shows are basically doing that. So it's saving them money on that end, but again, Andor was a little different because they did go back to the fully live set thing and all that kind of stuff. So, I think that one is not going to be the norm. I think this, all the other digital stuff is going to be the norm. And they can save money because they've got a system now. They've got it down to a science on how to do these things, and they can do it, more cost effectively. So I mean,
that is why we have these shows, is because they don't cost nearly as much as if it was live action, from front to back of the shot. But
yeah,
sometimes I wish they just had hyped that technology so much, because now I swear I can see it, and I don't know if that's just my brain telling me that or if it really does look different. But Star Trek is doing the same thing. Paramount's got their own version of it called the AR wall, augmented reality wall. And it's the same problem where you look at it and you're like, I can tell that's a giant TV behind them. So on one hand, you're like, we get shows we never would get otherwise. On the other hand, it looks fake as hell because they told us it's fake as hell.
See, I don't see it. I've said this before on the show. I think that's nitpicking. I really do. And as I've said frequently about other things, if that's what you're looking for, then what the hell are you watching this for? Star Wars and whatnot? Like, aren't you here to be entertained and watch people flying around kicking ass? Like, if you're just like, oh, I could see where this is fake and I could see that part's fake, like, just stop. Like, that's just enjoy the thing, you know? You know what I enjoy, AJ? Is potentially banning people from the chat. People like Jeff Caffrey who says, okay, now I need Rey on a Purgle. Why would you do that to Rey, Jeff? Why would you do that to Rey? What did she ever do to you? Purgles should never be in Star Wars. It's just the reality of it, man. That is just, you know what? What if the Purgles went into the world between worlds and went into some world that we don't know where it is, and then the world between worlds got destroyed, and then those effing things were like, God knows where? That would be kind of cool.
Well, let's look on the bright side. Their last act in Rebels was to take Ezra to points unknown.
That's true. That is true. Now, speaking of Ezra, because we're seeing him right here, we're seeing him with Sabine, and you and I had kind of another thought about this in that, how many things are they going to make it to where, can Sabine do? I mean, now it looks like she's like a Padawan of some kind. So, she was an Imperial, this, that, and the other. She's an artist. She's all like 18. Oh my gosh.
She's like 18 or 19 years old. And she had already, been trained as a Mandalorian, then went with the Empire, became a weapons engineer. Like, she designed a weapon that targeted Beskar, and then broke free and was a bounty hunter for a while, then joined the rebellion. Then during the series, she then became the leader of Mandalore briefly because she wielded the Darksaber. And this is all before she's 19 years old. Like, basically, Luke Skywalker is a fucking slacker.
Well, see, I was doing some thinking on this since we talked about it a few days ago, and I figured it out. Sabine is the Forrest Gump of Star Wars. She is.
God damn it. Why did I have to be drinking while you were doing that?
That's what she is. Yeah. Kale makes a good point. Says also, apparently she can just pass over the Darksaber because she doesn't want the responsibility, but apparently Din can't do the same thing. Yeah, that's a very, very good point. It's a very good point. Jeff Caffrey says she's complicated. Yes, she's complicated. It really feels like Forrest Gump to me. Like, at every turn, like she's this new thing, It's, and I was the leader of Mandalore. I was fighting with the Darksaber. Whatever that was, like the worst Forrest Gump impersonation ever. So just. But I handed it over to Bo-Katan, and that's all I got to say about that. Right. I'm so glad you could do it better, because that was terrible. That was god awful, man. What is that? Is he from like Jamaica or something? What the hell? I spared Gar Saxon's life, and that's all I got to say about that. I just felt like flying. Yeah. Oh my God. See, we'll save that for our Rebels rewatch. But if you look at like how quickly she picks up her skills, it's like, Jesus Christ. Well, that's the only thing I won't nitpick, because people can nitpick that about Rey, can nitpick that about Luke. So it's like we've seen that before. And that's actually, Mandalorian stuff must be super easy to wield, because as soon as Din Djarin got his what do they call them? Night birds, hummingbirds, morning birds, singing birds. Songbird, wrist missiles, whatever. Yeah, whistling birds. Whistling birds. Yeah, there you go. And the jetpack. It took him like 2 times total to be like, I'm perfect at this. Like,
All right.
Look at my dickhead buddy Jimmy. Says, you are the Forrest Gump of podcasters. AJ, you're good, brother. Up yours, Jimmy. Yeah. Jeff Caffrey. Tweety birds. That's perfect. We got to, from now on, we have to call them Tweety birds whenever they're deployed on Mando. They're forever Tweety birds. So, but yeah, so that was our other complaint, was that it seems like, okay, how much are they going to dump on Sabine's plate?
Yeah. So is she now like a Padawan, or is she just like learning how to swing a lightsaber around? Because I mean, I guess the difference is like anyone can swing a lightsaber, but if to be any good at it, you have to be attuned with the Force. Like that's the difference between a Jedi and a normie, I guess.
Well, maybe they'll do it like they did with Finn, where the inference is he's kind of Force sensitive, I suppose.
Oh, retcon as soon as JJ comes back in. Got it.
There we go. A little bit of JJ hate. I like it. So, yeah. So,
yeah. So Sabine is a bit of an issue, but we're going to have to deal with it, I guess.
Yeah. I didn't really have any other big complaints about this. It's, I'm just interested to see what happens with all the Rebel stuff and if it translates better in live action than it did in the cartoon.
Okay. Well, I've seen a couple theories online about some characters and stuff. So let me run this past you and see what you think. One of the theories is that Morgan Elsbeth, she was in episode 6 of season 2 of Mandalorian, I think, when Ahsoka turned up.
Okay.
There's a theory that she might be a Night Sister. What do you think about that? Because there's a shot supposedly in the trailer here. I'll scrub through and try to find it. Where she's looking at a map or something, and there's like a green flame underneath it, which is like Night Sister magic.
Yeah. I think that would be cool. I think that's something they could do really interestingly in live action. So I'd be okay with that. I always thought that was like a cool concept. And it kind of takes away from this being strictly mostly like a Rebels based thing, and kind of brings back some cool Clone Wars stuff into it. Those Purgles. Ooh. God bless. Anyway, excuse me. Yeah, I think that would be cool, and I know you're a big Clone Wars guy. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I think it'd be cool because after seeing what they did with Marin, I think is her name, in the Jedi games, right?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of good storytelling to be done with that group of people overall. So if they want to like bring that into live action and make it more than just video game canon, I'm good with it. I think that'd be awesome. Plus, like you said, like I don't want this just to be like Rebels 2.0. So if they want to bring something from the Clone Wars back and expand upon that, at least it's not just Rebels based, right?
Yeah. No, yeah.
Like, it's funny that Rebels 2.0 is called Ahsoka because there was a real big focus in Rebels on not bringing her in too often or too early. Because as Dave Filoni even went on record as saying, like, this show is about this cast and this crew. And if we brought in nothing but Clone Wars characters, they would overshadow the new characters that we're trying to establish here. Yeah. So for now, it to be like a turnaround case where Ahsoka is a Clone Wars character, but it's basically Rebels continued. I'm like, it mixed messages a little bit, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I mean, but again, that show was not about, Rebels was not about Ahsoka. This is kind of, I think they set it up, to be this way, the way they ended Rebels by bringing her in, the whole Fulcrum thing. And, I think they set it up purposely for that, to kind of bring her back into the shows. I mean, that's, she's an extremely popular character, so they can't just let her die on the vine, so they can't pull a Darth Maul with her and, we got to bring him, they brought him back, but it was cool in the Clone Wars and then absolutely shit awful in Rebels with that stupid lightsaber battle. So maybe they'll do that with Ahsoka in this one. You'll get all excited to have her back, and she'll just get like blown away by a Gamorrean guard accidentally or something. She'll get hit by friendly fire like midway through the first episode, and then basically the trailer has the only shots of Ahsoka in the whole show, and all the rest of it is like Sabine.
It's actually the Sabine show. They're just like faking us out.
It is. And then, like Kale said, because like he says, "Oh, Rey's not a true Skywalker," then Sabine just takes the mantle of being Ahsoka, just changes her name or something, something completely ridiculous.
What's your name? Sabine. What's your last name? Or what? Who are your people? Or whatever they say. Tano. Sabine Tano. Like, okay.
Oh, come on! That'd be perfect. Oh, it's our buddy Discuss Metal Joe. What's up, man? He says, Sabine, I'm in. Okay.
Oh, he's got a hard on for Sabine. That's right.
Okay. Well, you do you.
I'm sorry. Is that not PC enough?
It's a cartoon. Does it count? All we have for so far is a cartoon, despite the trailer. So if it's non-PC, then he's just turned on by a cartoon. Then it just gets weird.
That is true. Okay. You're close, Joe, but there's a W in there. So Discuss Metal Joe, for the audience that's listening rather than watching, says her surname is Ren, not Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren is R-E-N. They just, I don't know, one writer's room didn't listen to the other or something. Yeah. There's no relation there. They just sound identical, unfortunately. I kind of like that, though. I kind of like that they screwed up that hard. Like, did nobody check with the other people when they were inventing names? Like,
quick, add a W.
Wait, we got two characters named Jones? Yeah, but that one's got an H in it.
Exactly. Or they could have just done it like Family Guy. Like, I'm Sabine Ren. It's like Kylo Ren and Sabine Ren. Yeah.
There's a woo. You didn't hear the woo?
So bad.
So I have my own conspiracy theory. Speaking of theories that people are inferring from the trailer.
Okay.
So there's a couple. One thing we know about every Lucasfilm trailer, right, especially for TV shows, is that you're not going to see anything beyond the first like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And it's going to be diced up in a way to completely misdirect you, right? Like they never spill the beans, and they always pull stuff out of context to throw you off the scent. So there's a line in here about what is it? What do you think I'm going to turn on subtitles for this. Prevent another one, blah, 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 blah. We'll let it play and I'll find it. But there's a line about like, what do you think we're going to find when we find Thrawn? And I don't know, Balin, I think is the guy's name, the character's name. He says power like you've never imagined or something like that. It seems like a slap at it. Like, I don't think that's an actual conversation that happened back and forth. I think it was one person delivers the question, and then another episode he says that line, you know, which leads me to this other thing of, okay, so we've got this scene right as I don't present the damn thing.
Way to go.
Yeah, right. Oops.
Jeff Caffrey, Grand Admiral Flan.
This is why we need a producer, damn it.
I know.
So yeah, anyway, as I put the trailer back in now. Anyway,
now we have subtitles.
So there's a scene with the mural that we already talked about, right? Mm-hmm. And that is basically a 1-to-1 recreation of the end scene in Rebels, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that mural was shown at the end of Rebels when there's a prologue or epilogue rather, and it shows Ahsoka showing up to talk to Sabine, clearly like years after the events of Rebels happens. Mm-hmm. And they talk about going to look for Ezra, and that's where that series ends off. So in this show, when they recreate that scene, Ahsoka's in her gray getup, right? Like we've seen it in every other show so far. However, if you look at this instead, and this is me going tinfoil hat here, this is Ahsoka at the end of Rebels. She's in white. And Dave Filoni has gone on record as saying that Ahsoka is a Gandalf-like character.
Yeah.
Like Gandalf the Grey died, so Gandalf the White could come forth, right?
Okay.
So I wonder if what we're seeing with all this Ahsoka in gray, maybe that's a flashback.
Ooh.
Or at least whenever this Rebels scene takes place, it's after the events of this show. Because the whole point of the epilogue scene was for them to go find Ezra. And yet in this trailer, they talk about finding Thrawn. So I don't think what we're seeing at the end of Rebels is the same as the inciting incident or whatever, the reason that this series takes place. That's my theory, at least.
Okay.
There might be two different time periods that we're dealing with here. Because she's in gray. No, you don't see that because it's still playing on my screen and not anyone else's. Damn it. This is hard. This is really hard.
I'm in a pickle.
All right, so we're back on this. Let me rewind it a little bit here. Yeah, so here's the scene. She's in gray. So it's not either they're doing a little bit of fudging there, like they did at the beginning of Bad Batch, where they redepicted a scene that was already played out in comics and did it a little differently with Order 66, or it's not the same scene.
Or it was supposed to be gray in that picture you showed from the end of Rebels. Maybe they're saying, oh, it was gray. It wasn't white. See, there's more gray.
Also possible, yeah. But I do notice, for example, that there was that line that Ahsoka just said there where it said, nice haircut. So it looked like it was still like the epilogue scene, but she's commenting on the new haircut.
Yeah.
And the short hair was what Sabine had in the show. The long hair is some new look that they came up with for the Ahsoka series. So who knows where these things slot in?
Yeah, I mean, as we've talked about on previous episodes, you can't take any of this as like, you know, again, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Thrawn in like the first 5 minutes of the damn show.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's what they do. They don't show us anything.
Now I want to ask you about this because you already ranted on the Purgles.
Okay.
What if this
please
is the world between worlds?
Ugh.
Or it's a way to access the world between worlds?
I'll hate it. I hate those two ideas so effing much, dude. If I got to get both of them in one show, it's just going to piss me off. Ugh. Yeah, Discuss Metal Joe. He says, I'm with you, AJ. The timeline is all over the place. Flashbacks and remember that time we all around. And by the way, Joe, no. He then says, how mad will you be when all this ends with Thrawn, Vader, Maul, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Ezra having a world between worlds cage match? No, just no. Absolutely not.
That is the ultimate of like the creators just having all their action figures in the sandbox and being like, you fight now.
Well, dude, that's kind of like one of my main complaints about the world between worlds, because that brings it into the, you know, that brings that possibility into reality, and I hate that.
Damn it! Now it's real.
Well, yeah. I mean, dude, we talked about this years ago when Rebels was on about how much we hated this idea because it introduces time travel, basically, and we were afraid they were going to use it to just erase stuff. And undo things, and it's just so lazy. And so yeah, if this is the world between worlds, I'm going to be pissed. And now that I'm looking at it, you could be right. Even though that was all just black and white, this is dark colors, you know, and it's got the lines and stuff. So, oh my god.
Yeah, if anything, this looks to me
why'd you do that? Why did you do that?
I wouldn't worry about it too much. To me, at least to me, this looks like whatever Grogu was sitting on that planet when he was communing with the Force. So I think if anything, it might be an in reality connection point to it, but it's not actually the world between worlds.
Well, Kale agrees. He says the lines and circles actually look like the world between worlds. What's my voice tonight?
Yeah. That's a great pause right there.
Is that me with my internet frozen?
But yeah, those lines and everything behind Ahsoka right there, that totally looks like, I don't know, holographic or spiritual or something.
You just absolutely popped my balloon for this show. I never even thought about it.
Done.
And yeah, now,
welcome to the Nerf Herder Council, a Marvel exclusive podcast.
yeah, basically. Oh no. Oh, I
don't know. There's a lot of this that I feel like we got to see it like in context before we can really know how bad it is. But man, why does Mandalorian seem so cool? And then we see a bunch of cartoon characters come to life and we're like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, it is as simple as the fact that we didn't like that show. And if that is the world between worlds, basically I have to sit through the two shittiest ideas in Star Wars yet the fuck again. I mean,
there is some new stuff to look forward to, though. I mean, whoever these two are wielding the orange lightsabers, we've never seen orange lightsabers before, and we don't know what the hell they are. They're not Sith. They're not Jedi. But the one guy says he knew Anakin. And he's got a line in here. He says Anakin spoke highly of you. So the older dude, Balin or whatever his name is, was alive during the Clone Wars, at least. Maybe a Jedi, maybe not. Yeah, so there's that shot right there.
Yeah,
where it looked like it was a real place with like hologram stuff or magic rising up out of the ground.
I can't get the damn world between worlds out of my head now. God damn it. Kale makes a good point, though. Kale, thank you for trying to talk me off the ledge. He says, actually, you know what else? It looks like the screen where I upgrade Cal's powers in Fallen Order. Yeah, that's true. That does look like the video game screen. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering how long it is until they bring him into the whole thing, because you know that's happening. You absolutely know that's happening.
Well, I also expected to see What's Her Nuts from the Battlefront series too, Iden Versio, and they've yet to do that.
They really need to do that, because that book was cool, the game was cool. Okay, Discuss Metal Joe says Yaddle carried an orange saber in the comics, right?
I don't know. We don't pay attention to Yaddle, and we don't pay attention to comics, Joe. You got the wrong YouTube channel for someone that nerdy. Come on now.
Yaddle was handling a green saber. Hey-o!
Hey! Until she was squished by a giant door. And that is true. If you've never watched the Tales of the Jedi on Disney Plus, if you want to know what happened to Yaddle, it's in there.
They killed Yaddle in Tales of the Jedi?
Yes, they did. She actually discovered Dooku and Sidious plotting in the industrial complex on Coruscant.
You know what I'm picturing in my head? It's just them, like her walking around a corner, peeking around the door, and they kind of catch her, and the Emperor just kind of looks over and is like, little flick of his finger, and the door comes on, just smashes her head, and they just keep talking like nothing happened. It's like,
it's kind of like that, actually.
It's like the lamest master death ever.
She's in like a Jabba's palace door-sized opening, like, "Ha, Dooku, I found you. You're conspiring with the enemy." And then they're like, "Yeah, but you're in a giant door, so."
She looks up. Oh shit!
Yeah, right. Actually, it'd be shit. Oh,
yeah. I thought that was too obvious.
By the way, I just noticed that. Do you think tinfoil hat again?
Okay.
Is that Anthony Daniels? I want it to be Anthony Daniels.
Boy, it's so hard to call him Anthony, isn't it?
Right.
I know it's right, but after so many years of calling him Anthony.
That'd be great, though. That'd be great.
Oh, it would be awesome. I just look at these morons. Kale's talking about Cal Kestis. He says, they have the perfect live action actor for him too. Total fan cast, but I think Cameron Monaghan from Gotham could pull it off. I see, Kale, I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think a better casting job would be that the ginger kid from Shameless. I think that's who they should get. So, I don't watch that show, but at least I'm aware of it to make that joke. So there we go.
That's always the head scratcher on these castings, where they get like actual actors for video games or for voice actors, for example, and then they don't cast them as the faces of the characters they voiced.
I've never understood that myself. Like, okay, what is the point of that? Like, why'd you do it this way? Like,
right.
What? Like, it's so confusing. Well, all right. So Discuss Metal Joe has a good idea about the world between worlds, I suppose. He says, Gauntlet Throne, Ahsoka is trying to stop, quote unquote, someone from altering history, including a fight at the entrance to the world between worlds. Okay. I could get on board with that.
I could see that being a thing, because the whole reason she's even alive is because of the world between worlds.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I could get on board with. That is something I could get on board with.
It's still crazy though. Like, we've been Star Wars fans long enough that we're talking about a show. We're talking about 2 minutes of clips from a show that is based on a character that was inserted into the lore that we grew up with, but basically never existed until we were like full ass adults. And she still feels like an old character at this point.
Well, I mean, it's been, crap. What's it? 15 years?
2008.
Yeah, 15 years. I mean, that's kind of a long time. I mean, think about it. It was 16 years between episode 6 and episode 7, or excuse me, episode 1. So, and when we got the Phantom Menace, we were thinking, oh my God, the original trilogy, holy crud, like, this is so old. And I remember when I saw this when I was a kid, and now I'm not a kid. So that's kind of like what happens in these movies, in a way. I mean, hell, even a decade felt long between Revenge of the Sith and The Force Awakens. I mean, that right there, that just felt like it took forever. Like, I know when they announced they're going to do more movies in 2012, I was thinking, man, I haven't seen a new Star Wars movie in forever. But it was at that point 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
this whole concept of like, oh, we're going to do a Star Wars cartoon. Well, we know how those went in the 80s. And then Clone Wars was successful enough that here we are 15 years on from it. And she's got her own live action show and is going to be in a movie.
Yeah.
Wow. That was such a Hail Mary of an idea to, retcon an apprentice in to timelines that we've already seen. And now here she is, like, with her own flagship show. Like, everyone's like, oh my God, more Ahsoka. Thank you so much. Like, we got like 7 seasons of her, right?
Yeah.
And then a couple cameos in another animated show beyond that, and a live action appearance as well. Like, she's one of the most prolific characters in Star Wars, and yet fans still can't get enough of her.
Well, it's, I just think it's a combination of things. When she first debuted, she was not popular at all. Let's face it, she was a very unpopular character, and through the strength of the writing, she became a fan favorite, and then just kind of became like almost mythical. And she's always doing something, and the story takes interesting turns. So, she's a Padawan, then all of a sudden she's exiled, and now she's Fulcrum, and it's all believable, and it's in like this kind of perfect, believable arc. Like we talked about earlier, where, Sabine could do a million things and learned it really fast. Same thing with Luke Skywalker. Same thing with Rey. And people kind of comment on that. Whereas Ahsoka does all, her character arc is natural. There's no complaining about it. There's no, you can't question what they did with her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I do
love that. Like, when the Jedi were at their worst, which was, the end of the prequel era, when they were so up their own ass, they couldn't see what was going on. She's like, Peace. I'm out.
Yeah.
Like this ain't no good. I'll still keep doing good things, but I'm not going to do it under the Jedi brand.
Under the Jedi brand. Yeah, I'm going generic. I'm on a roll. It's time to go solo. Yeah, and dude, you know what I think the other thing of it is I think it's, she was kind of like a Princess Leia-esque character for a new generation of female Star Wars fans. And I also think that because we didn't have any Princess Leia or Carrie Fisher, when she came out, like all the Princess Leia fans that were still, really into Star Wars kind of got into her as well. So it was definitely one of those things where, people really gravitated towards her, especially the female side of the Star Wars fan base. And because I mean, you see it all the time. They started, the Ahsoka Lives thing at Celebration and all that kind of stuff. And, I mean, Christ's sakes, Ashley Eckstein made a whole clothing line based around her in a way. It was like all this Ahsoka related stuff that sold like gangbusters. So I just think it was that, that female character. It's why, people may complain about Rey, but now with the sequel trilogy, I mean, how many little girls and young women do you see running around Celebration cosplaying as Rey? I think it's the same thing. So
no, it's cool to see. It's cool to see that there's a whole character that was invented for an entirely different generation, and kind of like a tweener generation at that.
Yeah,
because it was between the prequels and the sequels. So the Clone Wars is a generation of kids version of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got this character that they've literally grown up with. So to see her like come into her own like this is great. And also I love the confidence that George Lucas had in Dave Filoni, and Dave Filoni had in his own vision, because honestly, like we were talking about the whole fan casting and all that sort of stuff, and how studios are kind of being led by fan demand at this point because they're just scraping for the dollars. I don't know if Clone Wars would have ever happened the way it did. I mean, it wouldn't happen under Disney's watch. That was one of the things that was very apparent about Rebels from the outset, was it was on a budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Clone Wars was like George Lucas just going like, what's money? I damn near print the shit myself. Who cares?
Right.
And, ratings are bad. I don't care. We're going to keep telling these stories anyway.
That's exactly what I got out of it too. Was
the whole reason the show exists is because somebody had enough money to not give a crap about how commercially successful the idea was.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would never have written Ahsoka. And Dave Filoni said he wrote a character arc for her. Like, she was supposed to be obnoxious and annoying and green as hell when she came onto the screen, so you could watch her grow into her own over time.
Mm-hmm.
No studio is going to give any show that kind of a leash these days. They're going to be like, you get a season. And if the ratings aren't doing good, you don't get a second season. So I hope you don't have 4 seasons planned, because you got one.
Right. Yeah. No, it is a fascinating character. And, like I obviously haven't gotten through all of Clone Wars, so I'm not as up on Ahsoka as most people are. And even you, I mean,
spoiler, she lives.
Is that what they mean? Is that what they mean when they do that whole big get together at Celebration? Who knew? But yeah, I'm excited they're doing it. I mean, I've said many times that even if Star Wars tells a story that I don't like, I enjoy the fact that it can open up opportunities for them to tell a story that I might like. So, if this is live action Rebels, and I'm just, hating the stupid World Between Worlds and Purgles and stuff, well, maybe there's going to be something else they introduce that all of a sudden is just going to be like my next new favorite thing, based off of the show that is not my favorite thing. So I'm excited for it. And honestly, I like when they put stuff out like this for the fans, because, I mean, I'll use Indiana Jones as an example. Crystal Skull gets crapped on. The new movie has mostly good reviews, but somewhat mixed, I think. But it's awesome that it's out there because it's enjoyable for me to have these stories, with this character that I've spent 42 years with. And I like with the Ahsoka stuff that, other people get that experience that I've had with Indiana Jones, where it's like you said, they grew up with Ahsoka. And I like that they're doing that. I think that's cool. I think it's inspirational because I can relate to that. I know how they feel when they're like, oh, I've, let's say somebody was 10 years old or something, in 2008. Well, now they're 25 and they're like, man, I've been doing this since I was a little kid, since I was in school. And it's, to use your term, they get the member berries out of it. And I think that's awesome. And I think it furthers the Star Wars fan base. It keeps things fresh and it keeps people engaged. And I love that about it. Even if it becomes something that I'm not into, I like that so many other people are, because I just like when Star Wars is alive. And if this is going to keep Star Wars alive, then I think it's a beautiful thing, regardless of my own personal reaction to it.
Dude, that is so well said. I got nothing to add. I think we should probably close up shop on that.
Yes, and I'm going to trademark it and sell it to Hallmark. That was, what was it in old school when he's debating, like, what happened? I blacked out.
Dude, seriously, I was like, oh, I got nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let you go.
All right, so we do one more thing here. So what are we looking at? We've got 3 pictures. Okay, so this is the evolution of Ahsoka. Okay.
Yeah, we're just talking about how the character is literally and visually and physically grown. Like, you got Clone Wars the movie on the left, you got the end of Clone Wars on the middle slide, and then on the right is Ahsoka in Rebels. So we have literally watched her grow up, and there's a whole generation of kids, like you said, that grew up with her.
See, I just love that. Again, I'll go back to Indiana Jones like that. That's why I love the new movie so much, because it's just such a cool thing to experience for such a long time, and to get one last adventure, and to, it's just, I love it. It reminds me of being a kid, and it's so, I don't know what the right word to use is. I hate using the word comfortable, but I think I might have to, because it's awesome to have that place to come back to. It's like, mm-hmm. I sat down in a theater to watch Dial of Destiny, and I was like, I just remember seeing Raiders for the first time, and then seeing the dude get his heart ripped out in Temple of Doom, and it was, I knew that I was in my happy place. And so I love it that now people that are big Ahsoka fans get to be in their happy place for 10 episodes, and that's great, man. It's very cool. Yeah. Kale, last thing, Kale says cathartic. No, I don't know if it's cathartic so much, Kale. I just think it's, I think comfortable was more what I was looking for. I could see why you might guess cathartic. But for me, it's just like, I get to sit down with something familiar. It's like sitting down to your favorite meal. You've had it a million times. You know what it's going to taste like, but you're going to love it. And it's always, it's like, it's always there for you. It's always a constant. And, but every time there's a little bit different seasoning, so one might be better than the other, depending on how it's prepared. So, something like that, I think. So, all right. Well, on that note, why don't we close up shop for this week? And you satisfying, Jeff? That could be a good one too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You to think we were worried about getting a full show out of a 2-minute trailer. Apparently, we're a couple of windbags. Who knew? But thank you guys once again for tuning in to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. We got to thank everybody in the chat. Jeff Caffrey, good to see you, man. Nice to see you tuning in. Appreciate you very much. Obviously, our very good friend Kale. Always great to see you on both shows, man. Appreciate you. Chris Aiken tuning in. Discuss Metal Joe. Man, where was Mimar tonight? My buddy Jimmy is a dick. I'd like to reiterate that. But yeah, thanks to all you guys in the chat. Thanks to everybody watching on YouTube on the replay. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We are going to be right back here in 2 weeks. The date will be Wednesday, August. Let me think. What will it be? 2nd, I believe. Yeah, 2nd. Yeah, Wednesday, August 2nd. So we'll be right back here Wednesday, August 2nd at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube. And if you are tuned in on YouTube and you have not done so yet, click that like button, click that subscribe button, and smash the notification bell. As always, guys, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. And don't forget that you can go get customizable Nerf Herder Council swag at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. AJ has made a number of really kick-ass Nerf Herder Council logos and all different manner of Star Wars logos. You're one groovy baby. Baby. But yeah, AJ's done some great work on the logos. You know, they're based on actual Star Wars logos, but it says Nerf Herder Council. It looks really, really cool. So you can have some customizable Star Wars swag for yourself. And only about 4 people on the planet will know what the hell your shirt means. So there you go. But yeah, so thanks again, guys. Until next time, I am your host, JT, at Dog Pound Jedi. He is AJ.
At Drake Adams 579.
And guys, we will catch you next time.
This bucket of bolts is never gonna get us past that blockade.
This bucket's got a few surprises left in her. Plus, me and Chewie are on it. Ain't that right, Chewie?
Hell yeah, you my Nerf herder.
You my Nerf herder.